Hello.
Good morning, Rhonda. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, great, great. So it's nice to have you back on this webinar. We have had discussions earlier, and first of all, let me thank you for being uh, here today at this session, and a very happy New Year to you.
Happy New
We're
Year to you
meeting
as
in the
well.
new year today since the last meeting we had. So I hope that it's going to be an awesome session today. I was really looking forward to this particular session
Good.
because after reading your profile, it seems that the audience here in India is really going to get a lot of information that will be useful for them as they go ahead. So
Super.
let me first introduce my guest today to the audience. As I'm very privileged to introduce one of very reputed speakers of the Canadian speaking industry, Rhonda Scharf. And Rhonda has so many awards and recognitions under her belt. She's been a speaker for many years, and she has actually been a Canadian speaker. She has been awarded the Hall of Fame for the Canadian Speakers Club and many, many other awards. She has an audience all around the globe. She travels extensively around the world, counseling, coaching, and mentoring many of her clients. And it's a prestige and an honor today to be able to interview her. And I'm sure the audience will be learning a lot of things today. So Rhonda, welcome to this webinar today. And I would like to ask you to give a few words before we start this interview to our audience.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. Everybody thinks that they have the average, upbringing. I grew up in a small town outside of a small town outside of Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada. Ottawa is our nation's capital. So I'm a small town rural farm girl that it doesn't really matter where in the world we're from. We all have a lot in common, and so I like to use my experiences to share with others, and hopefully they can learn and enjoy what they do a little bit more as well.
So I could give you a few of the awards. I can give you the honor to give us more details about your awards and recognition in the speaking industry.
Sure. So first I earned my certified speaking professional. I earned that almost 20 years ago. And I was Canada's third woman to earn that. So it basically means that I'm a full-time speaker. I am good enough that my clients say, yes, she deserves this. And only 7% of professional speakers in the world have earned their CSP. So I got that a long time ago. I also was inducted into the Canadian Speaking Hall of Fame. And so I am one of just a handful of people in Canada who have been, sort of put in the Hall of Fame, and I'm still an active speaker. I have my Global Speaking Fellow, which means I have an operational international business. So I just don't speak in Canada and the United States, and I speak all over the world. I've spoken to dozens of different countries, travel a lot. And so there's only 32 people in the world who have earned that. And then if you put on the Spirit of CAPS, it's a peer nominated and awarded designation, Spirit of CAPS, saying that I give back to the community. So at the moment, I'm the only person in the world who has all 4 of those as an active speaker. So yeah, I get lots of awards, but I work hard and enjoy them.
So it's a privilege to get acquainted with you, Rhonda, and being a speaker myself from the Toastmasters Club. As you know, I have been very interested in the speaking industry through my trainings and coachings. I do train people in the public speaking skills, which are so essential, as I'm sure you understand, because you yourself are a speaking professional. You understand the importance of this particular skill in the communication skill set. And today I would like to have the audience to get some views from you about what type of guidance or coaching that you provide. I understand that you guide a lot of corporate individuals and corporate teams in partnering and administering teams and how
Yeah.
to work within a team and work not as individuals or like a job, but as partners within a team to work as teams to build the organization and themselves. So I would like to ask a few questions, and I hope that you'll be able to enlighten the audience more about this particular concept that you've been talking about. So today we are going to be talking about building healthy partnerships. So the first question that I'd like to ask you is, should administration staff focus on being partners instead of getting the job done? So do you think that is more important in the current scenario as the business environment around the world is changing? What's your perspective in this?
I'm not sure it's more important, but one of the things that are changing across the world, I specialize in administrative staff, so frontline support staff, and that's who I work with to work better in their job, appreciate it more. And a lot of the times, most roles that are in an administrative role, they're behind the scenes. And so what we've certainly learned in the pandemic is when people don't know what they do, what you do, you don't get to keep your job. And there has been a lot of changes to organizations as they're potentially suffering financially in the pandemic. And so when you're a behind the scenes partner or when you're a behind the scenes worker, if they don't know what you're doing, there's a real challenge with that. So what we need to do, and we actually needed to do it before COVID, I've been talking about this for a while, is to step from behind the scenes and be a partner. So you still need to do all the tasks. You still need to get all that stuff done. But if you work with your team or with your executive or your partnership working together, then there's much more value to that. So it's not that we need to focus on it more. We need to do both. And if you ignore the partnership side, you're going to be in trouble because your company doesn't know what you do. And so it's important to step out behind the scenes.
So you mean to say the administration staff need to be more communicative and interactive with the managers, the teams who are actually on the ground, in contact with customers and problem solving, and who are basically in the limelight, you would say, because they want to know what you're doing because you're out of sight. They don't really know how you are impacting the results or how you bring value to the whole process. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that we need to communicate more because you probably will spend your whole day on email. It's we need to communicate more visibly. Stop putting our name in the BCC category where it's a blind copy, right? Start joining conversations in meetings, start asking questions. And it's not that you're going to communicate more, it's just going to be way more visibly as opposed to invisible.
So rightly said, because out of sight, out of mind, that's what people say. If you don't make yourself visible and make yourself recognized in the whole process, you're not basically considered to be contributing towards the whole process, right?
Sadly, that is very true, yes.
Going to another question that's very important in the administrative part is, what is the most important thing an executive or supervisor can do to help promote leadership instead of boss-employee relationship?
Yeah.
What would be a good process of doing it? What would be more productive and more engaging?
So from the executive point of view, I would say what they really need to do, the most important thing, and it's going to be a close tie for two, is number one, be willing. I found that a lot of team members, a lot of administration staff, they really want to be more visible. They really want to be the partner. They want to work with them, not for them. And unfortunately, they run into a lot of resistance by people in executive or management positions. They're like, oh, I can't let you do that. I'll have to pay you more for that. Or that's not your job. Or they get afraid that somebody's trying to take their job. And in reality, what the most important thing they need to do is be willing. After that, then what they need to do is embrace the value that you and your team, your partnership will offer your department, your company. So really work with them. So tell them what your goals are, what your key performance indicators are, KPIs. Get them involved in many more strategic functions as opposed to task-based functions. So number one is willingness. Number two is let them in. Let them know what you're thinking. Let them know what your goals are. They can help you.
So you're addressing the executives now because you're not speaking from the administrator point of view. You're talking about the team leaders or the managers. They need to be proactively allowing their administration team to come forward and bring value and interact. And there should not be any fears of hesitancy that someone is trespassing on their, turf, as you would say, and that creates all the problems, I would say, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, how do you think the current scenario in the new globalization is it really impacting the way you are actually asking people to do it? Is it being usefully implemented right now?
So right now there's a real challenge in that there's a very large percentage of the world still working remotely, working from home. And it's hard to be a partner when you're not communicating, you're not talking, you're not with that person. So yes, the way things have happened right now is a lot of managers or executives, they've learned to do things on their own because they're working from home or they've just become way more self-sufficient. So a lot of the times their administrative support, they don't know how to delegate properly. They don't know how to give more tasks to them, right? So they think, well, I know I'm not traveling. I don't need to travel, or I don't need to do that. And so they need to work with them because working remote is very difficult. We don't have those little conversations. The executive isn't mentioning, oh, by the way, here's what I'm working on. A lot of that is missing. So what's happening in the current global situation is that relationships are going one of two ways. The first way is they're getting better than they've ever been because the executive and the admin can work well. But for most people, it's going the other way. They're not as good as they used to be. We have to find new ways to connect, new ways to work as partners, and new ways to work strategically together. The old ways are not working.
So you would say that right now we're in a transition phase where there's a lot of errors, a lot of changes happening, and people are getting used to it, and they need to adapt to the current scenario because that's the way forward. Do you think that's going to be a long-term scenario if you look at it that way?
I think worldwide it will be long-term. Gartner has done some recent research just this month in 2021 that said 8 out of 10 companies moving forward are going to allow their employees to work remotely at least some of the time. Very large companies, as we know, across the world are having people work remotely all of the time. And so, yeah, moving forward, we do have to make those adjustments. We have to recognize that what we used to do doesn't exist. And like exactly as you said, out of sight, out of mind. So let's not be out of sight and let's show a lot of the value that we can add. And now's the perfect opportunity to make that relationship better than it ever has been before.
So Rhonda, then you might have to design some kind of a process or tool for this current scenario so that your clients basically transition smoothly to the new normal where they can use your skills implemented in the long term, basically, because I think that's the need of the time that you realize that you can help them in able to transition to the permanent new normal of online business communication and work profiles. Am I right?
Absolutely. And I do that. I have many different workshops and many different programs that I work with companies to do exactly that, to move them forward and be very successful in that transition.
So how important is it to know what your executives like and dislike? If you are a manager or your likes and dislikes and the administration having to know it, how important is it?
You know what, it's like being married. You really have to know where they're going to be, and you can talk to any admin in the world and he or she will say, oh yeah, I can read their minds, or I can be 2 steps in front of them. It really is important that you know how they react, how they handle pressure, what are they like in quiet times and busy times? What are they like when they're sad? What are they like when they're tired? What are they like when they're hungry? And it really is understanding, and a really good admin will be 2 steps ahead of that so that they can predict what comes next. So understanding their likes, I'm not talking about their coffee, although, that's Andrew, I suppose, but it's really almost like being married. You need to know, if I do this, this is going to happen. And so that they can be proactive and be very strategically supportive. It is pretty important.
Yeah, because you need to be one step ahead from your executive so you can guide him and give him the right tools and the right support well in advance before he even asks for it. So I think that's a very important skill as far as the administrator is concerned, because it's not what the executive tells you to do, but it's what you know that he's going to be telling you to do in the coming future. So, right, that's, I think, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is one of the specific tasks you can give your listeners to help them to be better partners with their executives, their managers, and their top management? What would be the
one particular task that is really hated across the world, but really important in order to become that strategic partner, is to really attend meetings and take minutes. And I know everybody just like, because everyone hates taking minutes of meetings, but it's actually one of the best things you can do to understand what's going on in the department, understand the way the other team members think, and to learn. Now, it's also, like I said, the most hated task, but the more senior you get as administrative staff is the more you get into the bigger, deeper conversations. So if your groups, your management teams are not getting minutes, maybe you want to say, why don't I take minutes? And I know you'll hate it, but it is really one of the most important things to switch your thinking in line with theirs so that you know what they're thinking.
And taking minutes is a really important skill. Don't you think that I think not everyone can do it. You need to be totally focused on what each and everyone is saying, and the order in which you record the details are so very important, because what you take into the minutes basically gets either implemented, or what you don't put in, it doesn't get implemented. So that's basically a crux of how the meeting basically proceeds further to results and outcomes, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and it's also designed to protect the organization, so it is a legal document as well. So yeah, it's not a matter of capturing what everybody said and did. That's not the right thing at all. So it is a skill. I do teach admins minute taking because it's one of those skills that very few have been taught how to do properly. And so it is a high level strategic role.
And I think listening skills become one of the most predominant skill sets for any minute taking process.
Yep.
And, so
listen to what was said, listen to what they meant, listen to what they didn't say. Yeah, all of that. There's a lot of
you train people in all those skills basically, as far as the administrative teams are concerned, right?
Absolutely. Yep, that's what I do.
So what is one specific task that you can give listeners to help them in better partners?
So to be better partners, one of the things that they can do, and again is also a really hard skill, is learn to ask questions. Not just any questions, but the right questions. So that's part of attending meetings and doing minutes and all of that, so that you're not silent in the meeting. Start to learn to speak up and ask questions. And that is a skill that you develop. And for a while, you may just ask dumb questions or just, not, but the more you focus on it, the better you're going to get. And that's the skill to master, asking the right questions.
But Rhonda, then you should also be speaking from the executive's point of view, because many executives and managers really don't have that comfort level to allow their administrators that authority or that freedom to ask questions within a team. Don't you think that's a critical point to be noted?
And that's what we talked about earlier. What's the one thing that the partner and executive can do? And I said, number one is willingness to let them be your partner. So by willingness to let them be your partner, let them ask questions, value the questions that they ask, Just because they don't get paid the same amount of money as you do doesn't mean they don't have really great questions, right? So that's where the partnership really comes into play. So you wouldn't want the questions to be perceived as aggressive or going against what management is seeing or anything like that, but a legitimate question like, did we think about this? Have we tried this? What about, those type of things. So that's where the executives and the managers really have to be non-threatened and willing to let their team members have the ability to ask and say those kind of things. It really adds value to the teams.
That's great. I think that's very important. So you coach both sides of the teams, basically the executives as well as the administrators, and you create a consensus and understanding of this process. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, we help everybody, the whole team work really well together. It's about efficiency and effectiveness and working together smart.
Very nice. So I think a lot of things that I'm sure the audience in India are getting from this conversation today, because myself, I was not aware of these kind of skill sets that administration really need, because people really don't pay attention to these intricacies, so very important part of a good administrator team and a good organizational setup. Am I right?
Absolutely right. Yeah, most people don't know what the administration team does, right? And so that they do a lot and they can add a lot of value. So by working together smartly, the team really can do so much more and everyone is happy.
Because now that you're talking about the administrative team, not many people really put their efforts in recognizing that part of an organization, and that gets neglected. And I really appreciate your passion and your interest in really addressing them and taking them into consideration in the whole organizational setup, because that's something which really opens up a perspective for the executives and the managers that they play a very pivotal role in the organization's success going forward. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Right. So another question I would like to ask you, how can your listeners show they can think strategically and bigger than just task-based, because a lot of administration stuff, task-based processes, they don't really like it, and they want to be more strategic, more involved. Do you think there are some tools that you can help them with?
Yeah, so if it really is about the very same stuff I talked about the executives, it's the same thing on the administration side. So we have to be willing. You have to want to move away from the task-based stuff. And then everybody loves, the task-based part of their job. That's not a big deal. But sometimes you go home frustrated, and sometimes you think there's so much more I could do, and sometimes you feel bored. And so that's where you want to sort of transition and be willing to step up. Now, it's probably not going to change how much money you make. It's probably not going to change your title. But what it might change is your motivation on the inside to know that you're making a difference. When we're just doing tasks, it's just busy. When we're working strategically, that's where we feel that we really make a difference. So you have to be willing. You have to be non-threatened by other people the very same way I talked about the executives. I said, you have to ask the right questions. You have to learn to think strategically if you don't already. You probably do already, but learn to show that information. So yeah, we need to put more into it as well, so that our companies see the value that we bring. If you look at just the year 2020, how many administrative professionals across the world lost their job? It was too high. And it was too high because companies didn't know what they did. And so now is the time to show your company the value, the willingness, and the ability that you all bring to your job. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think you're very right that most of the people who lost their jobs, they were not being recognized. They must have been very good performers, but because they were not visually or they were not prominently within the picture, unfortunately, they don't stay with the organization. So it's so critical that, Rhonda, you have made this point that you need to be a part of the team and be visually recognized as contributing towards the team. Another thing that you mentioned here right now, that at the end of the day, you have done a lot of tasks, but you don't feel that you have really contributed. And you know, that sense of appreciation that the executives and the managers should bring forward at the end of the day, saying, thank you very much, you have been so well contributing towards the whole project and process, which really goes a long way, I think, that the person feels productive and appreciated. And at the end of the day, going back home, he feels that he has really contributed towards a particular goal or objective that was laid for him, right?
Yeah, everyone needs to feel that they have an important piece of the puzzle. And if you feel that your piece isn't valuable, you just don't get a sense of satisfaction at the end of the day, right? You just feel like everybody takes advantage of you. They don't even know what you do. So everybody needs to be valued and appreciated and aware of how they fit into the whole big picture.
Another thing that I think very important within the organizational structure is trust. What do you think about trust? What's your perspective about trust between the administration team and the executives and the whole corporate management team? What's your perspective?
It's absolutely essential. So there's two different types of people, and there's no right or wrong. And so the first type of people, they trust others automatically. And so I would trust you automatically until you proved wrong, until you said, now, once I've trusted you and you've proven that I can't trust you, it's very hard to trust you again. And then the other type of the people that are like, no, you need to earn my trust first. So there's no right or wrong, and the world is fairly equally split. Now, I happen to be one of these people that trusts you automatically. You say you're going to do it, I trust that you're going to do it. But like I said, the first time you don't do it, now I'm not as likely to trust you, right? And so without trust, what ends up happening is partnerships, one of them, if not both of them, will become a micromanager. So did you do what I asked you to do? Did you get that book? And when trust is not there, it's hard to be a partner, because what ends up happening is it feels like we're being micromanaged. It feels like you're babysitting me. And so trust is, so if you take a partnership of an executive and admin, maybe the executive says, no, you need to earn my trust. And the admin says, no, you get it automatically. So we're working a little bit differently. So there needs to be time at the beginning of relationships or at the beginning of tasks to show each other that you trust them. And the best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust someone. And so without trust, that relationship will never be productive because everybody's babysitting each other. So we have to learn to talk about trust. We have to learn to say, why don't you trust me? Or we have to learn to say, you can trust me. Because without trust, we're just going back to task-based. And you're not going to get that incredible productivity that a partnership will give you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So trust becomes a very important pillar in building a relationship between the administration and the executive. But would I be wrong in saying that the initiative needs to come from the administration team to actually show that they are so proactive and they are going to be building trust from their point? Would that be more?
So they do need to show that they can be trusted, exactly, because of those two different types of trust. If your executive is, no, you need to earn it, we have to be willing to show even if, like I said, I'm the one that trusts automatically, I can't assume that the rest of the world trusts automatically. So I have to prove to everyone that I can be trusted. So I will take that initiative and do that. Like just in case you're the type of person that says, no, you need to earn it.
So in both cases, it needs to start from the administrator's part, basically, to start an initiative to persuade or win the trust of the executive and the managers when they start off in a particular job profile. Wouldn't that be right?
That would be normal for sure. I mean, I think anybody that starts in a new job, regardless of their title, is going to show to all the people they work with that they're able to be trusted. I mean, should the executives show the admin that they trust them? Yes, and that they can be trusted as well. So it's not that it needs to start on the admin side. It usually does. It should be on both sides, but I'm not going to wait for the other person. I'm going to do it first regardless of what my title is.
So, Rhonda, what would be your message to the audience in India as far as the administrative skill sets is concerned? How will they be able to become excellent in their profession, in their profiles going forward? What is the skill sets that they need to build up, and or what will make them stand out in a crowd? That's my question to you.
I mean, I could teach 4 days on what they could do, right? What we have to recognize is the skills that got you here are great. They are not necessarily the skills to get you there. So we have to constantly evolve. We have to constantly add new value. We have to ask questions. We have to show that we can think strategically, that we can still do all the tasks. Don't get comfortable is sort of the bottom line. You may be at the top of your game today, but everything is changing. And so don't get comfortable, be willing to learn, whether it's hard skills or soft skills, tech skills or artificial intelligence skills or conflict skills, or, we're always growing and evolving. And so don't get too comfortable, always be looking for the next rung on the ladder to keep yourself engaged and to keep your skills relevant.
Great, Rhonda. A very good, very important message to the administration profile, the audience that are watching this webinar today. And I would like to pass on a message to all the people, the audience, to understand that Rhonda, whatever she is actually shared with us today is so much valuable because of the experience that she brings, the years of experience that she has been guiding the audience and the clients overseas and around the world. It really needs to be noted that all that she said today is really valuable and awesome experiences that she's shared. Is there something that you would like to share, an incident that really helped you go forward in this particular field? What really made you go towards this particular profession?
So growing up in my small town, I wanted to be a school teacher. And in Canada, we pay our school teachers very well. They earn it. And so it was a very popular career choice. And when I was in my high school years, it was harder to get into teachers college than it was to get into medical school. Oh. So I didn't become a teacher, but I wanted to be a teacher. And so I ended up moving. I started as a receptionist, and then I was a secretary, and then I was an executive assistant. And so I come from those steps, like that's who I am. So I still think like an administrator. I specialize in administration, but I still am wired that way. And so I love what I do, and I love helping people do it. So it comes from being there, and it comes from talking to administrators all over the world on the best way to really love what you do and be good at what you do, because those are pretty important skills.
So you absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's what really drives me also, because something that I can contribute to people, towards the community, and be able to touch people's lives and contribute towards changing their lives in a positive way, to be able to change the environment around you. And when you see that really taking place and how it transforms the environment, it really helps you. It's not just the words, but what you visually see being created really helps you, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction. That's what drives me in my training and coaching career, to be able to help people in achieving creative excellence, which is the company, the name that stands for ACE. So Rhonda, another thing that you have mentioned during our discussion last time is that you have been a speaker since you were 2 years old, because your mom would pay you 25 cents to keep quiet. Can you just share with us that particular incident? What's that all about?
So I think it's pretty funny. My whole life, I've been a talker. Like I just talk, right? And so I guess as a child, I talked a lot. Mom would jokingly give me money to stop talking. Like every report card that I got in school, the teacher wrote, if Rhonda would talk less and listen more, she'd be a better student. So I've been, I've been strong verbally my whole life. And it's just, I'm blessed that I'm able to share my experiences with people so that they can learn. Like you said, there's nothing worse than you spend a lot of years working, waking up every morning and hating what you do. So I want everyone to love what they do. So they wake up in the morning and they go, I get to go to work today, as opposed to I have to go to work today.
And you have used that skill to actually pursue a career, which is like having your cake and eating it too. Am I right? So you're enjoying every moment of your career as a speaker and a coach and a mentor. And I'm sure that's an awesome experience going forward. Another thing that I would like to share, Rhonda, is that this particular webinar is really going to be useful for all the audience in India. And I'm sure we would love to have many more of your sessions. Maybe in future we could have a particular specific session that could contribute towards the audience to help them learn a specific skill. So would you like to leave a message for the audience today as we close this session? And I would like to say that your energy, your enthusiasm, and the way you speak is really very energizing and very enthusing. And I'm sure that will help a lot of audience to understand how you can contribute to them in able to develop the same skills that you display here right now. So I would love for you to have a few minutes to share with the audience a few words to close this session.
Absolutely. If for those of you listening, I would love if you would connect with me on social media. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and it's Rhonda, Rhonda. The last name is Scharf, Scharf. Just find me, connect with me, tell me that you connected here. I have lots of value to help you. You can sign up to the YouTube channel. I've got a blog. Like there's all kinds of free information out there, and there's all kinds of stuff that's not free. But there's still so much of a community of administrators across the world. Would love to have you part of it. So please reach out and connect with me.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. And I'm sure the audience who are listening today, they can always connect with Rhonda, or they can always get in touch with me. And it's been a pleasure knowing Rhonda and interacting with her. And I'm sure we can look forward to a long-term communication in the future to be able to contribute to the audience here in India in the future. So Rhonda, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today. And I hope that we'll be having many more such webinars and interviews to be able to help the people that are your audience around the globe. So thank you very much, Rhonda, and have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning and good day to you. Take care. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks.